Hi everybody, it's RASA von WERDER from the University of Mother God Church. I was well known for being the stripper for God as KELLIE, the woman who dances to save men's souls. I gave 1,000 sermons in burlesque theaters and nightclubs before I danced. This went on for years. This went on for about 14 years of preaching in burlesque theaters and nightclubs. And I was on the stage for a total of 21 years on and off, you know, as a topless dancer and as a stripteaser. I'm also the progenitor, or the beginning of female competitive bodybuilding. I'm in the Hall of Fame for that. I was given the award by the World Bodybuilding Guild. Okay, enough on that. I'm going to talk about why do patriarchs condemn sex through their religions, then punish only the women. Remember the story of the woman caught in adultery, and they all gathered around her and were about to stone her to death when Jesus came by. And so Jesus said, "What are you doing?" And they said, "She was caught in the very act of adultery." Well, who was she caught with? Why wasn't the man against the wall being stoned to death? Why only her? You see what I mean? Well, the men are getting it now. You know, the Me Too movement and everybody coming forward, you know, with Bill Cosby. And just, you know, remember, it really started, you know, with the leaders and the famous men and all that with Bill Clinton. Remember, you know, when they were getting Bill Clinton for getting BJs in the White House in the Oval Office, you know, from Monica Lewinsky and all that. You know, that was really the first time we saw men, high up leaders, being persecuted for sex acts. There wasn't much of that prior to that. That really, boom, just, that's because matriarchy, boom, is coming in with a bang. Bang, matriarchy, matriarchy, matriarchy. So no one dared speak up. Women never dared speak up for what happened to them. Being raped, being exploited, or having sex when they shouldn't be, you know, with guys. So they never come forward. So now it's an explosion of coming forward. On another note, similar but different. The way men rule the world is so corrupt and so evil and so sick. In the Shah of Iran, if you remember the Shah of Iran that gave the big party, that was his downfall. This Shah of Iran, he was a puppet. He was a puppet of the United States. He gutted the treasury of the people. Gutted it. Hundreds and hundreds of $millions to put on this festivity for 2,500 years of Persia. And there was this great leader at one time that they were honoring for what he had done. Can't think of his name right now, the leader. The Shah, they believe he spent all the money of his country in fetting and creating that little so-called tent city, you know, with the highest level of hospitality that you could ever imagine, that costly, just the entire treasury of the country, they believe, of that year were spent on this crazy, freaking party. And I remember after the party seeing various interviews with him, and he was always puffed up and with this, he was chosen by God. You were a puppet. You weren't chosen by God. You were chosen by the shadow government or the U.S. or somebody. You were not chosen by God. And you ain't that great hero that you were honoring from back in the day. You're not him. Well, Now another man comes. This is like the legend of the men on the white horse. So now there's this Ayatollah guy. He's been in retired now for 15 years somewhere else because he was ousted. And under the Shah, they had a lot more freedoms. They had a lot more freedoms, a lot more for women, So he demands that the Shah be put out and armed some of the army. What's the word? You know, attacked him. Some of the army attacked his security officers. And a couple weeks after that, he ran. He fled the country. And then 2 weeks later, the Ayatollah comes in. Now, Ayatollah's going to straighten everything out, right? He brings back fundamentalism. So women are, once again, all their rights are taken away. I don't need to know any more about him except this. I saw a TV show where a Muslim woman was talking to a Muslim host, and they had captions in English. This Muslim woman was protesting because this was years later. This is years later. She's already dead. The Ayatollah's already dead. Ayatollah Khomeini. He's already been dead. So she's on this TV show and she's talking about a handbook. A handbook that this Ayatollah wrote that talks about it is okay to have sex with children, even children that are drinking milk from their mother's breast, children that are still nursing. And he describes the sex acts that are okay. And the woman is going crazy, and I give credit to the host for letting her on the air and letting her vent this and talk about it. I was stunned. I said, I don't want to. I already knew the man took away all the rights of women, but now he's creating a handbook of how to have sex with children. So here you have one clown wasting all the money of his country to make himself a big shot with all the royalty and the hot shots of the whole world, to make himself, the Shah of Iran, himself look big. Him and his, he's the imperial majesty puppet. Him and his wife, I'm sure his wife had nothing to do with it. This is what he does. Now the next guy comes in, takes away all women's rights, and is preaching to have sex with children is all right. Little children, not just children. You're talking children. This is what I mean by men cannot rule the world. Now, I know I'm giving two extreme examples. I know. And by the way, I don't hate Muslims. I think there's saints in the Muslim church just like everywhere else. Jewish saints, Muslim saints, Christian saints, yoga saints, Taoist saints, Wiccan saints, and pagan saints. All religious disciplines have saints, and even people who are agnostics can be saints, as long as they love God, even though they're not sure, but maybe they do love God anyway, even though they're not sure God exists, but they're nice to God anyway, loving, caring. I don't know all the answers. So I'm not denigrating any religion. None. All these religions came out of Mother God religions. Okay, so everybody's waiting for the man on the white horse. They think, the Democrats think, well, their guy or woman is going to straighten it all out. The Republicans, their guy or woman is going to straighten it all out. It's Tweedledee and Tweedledee-dum, Noam Chomsky says. They don't make much difference. It makes a little difference. He says it does make a little difference, but only a little. Only a little. Basically, they are puppets of the shadow government. Those demons that are in charge of the world. The people that are the shadow government choose the prime ministers. There's very few countries that I think that they don't put into office. Like Iceland. They didn't put the woman president into office. The woman president came into office and she put all the banksters in jail for they had caused an economic collapse. Just like we had an economic, when was it, like 1987 or something? There was some kind of a stock market collapse. They were doing all sorts of shenanigans. The banksters, the banksters, criminals, the criminal banksters. And this lady became prime minister, or whatever they call her. She put him in jail. So I don't think the shadow government put her in office. These same shadow government people, they assassinate. They take them out of office, or they persecute them, or they assassinate them. I heard they assassinated Lincoln when he was going to throw the banksters out. He was going to throw the banksters out. That's why he got assassinated. And the guy that shot him, he was a puppet. He was a stooge. Just like the guy supposedly, you know, Oswald that shot Kennedy. No, he didn't shoot Kennedy. It's the shadow government people are doing all this stuff. All right, to be continued.